Good day, everyone. So you're trying to decide on what type of heater you should get, what would you use it for, how do you use the heater? I'm going to go through that. I'm going to try to do this all in one video. I'm going to try to keep it short. So once I get into each individual unit, I'll try to keep it to like about 3 minutes for each unit. And everything that I tell you in here, you need to also read the manuals for each of these units when you're going to operate them, because what I say, I could be incorrect in something. It's a possibility. I mean, I don't work for these people, so, and plus I'm going to have probably a little bit some different ideas about using them and how you should use them. My personal opinion. So, again, read the manuals for all of them, but I'm going to give you a rundown here. So basically, I have 3 different units here. I have the Mr. Heater. It's a 30 to 60,000 BTU unit. We'll get into the details when we get into the actual heater. And I have this other one. It's a in the middle here, the little yellow one. That's an electric ceramic unit. It's by Royal Sovereign. I've never heard of the name before, but maybe it's more popular in the States. I'm not sure. And of course, on the very right, we have the Portable Buddy. That is just a straight propane heater. But yeah, we'll get into all the details on each of them, how I would use them, and maybe that will be applicable to maybe your decision in buying one, or how you would actually use it yourself. So let's get started here. Let's start off with the Mr. Heater, the great big one there. I have my helper. It's very important. This guy plays a critical role in this whole testing and explanation. And so here we go. We'll start with the Mr. Heater. Let me get all the other ones out of the way here, and we'll concentrate on that. Okay, let's start with the Mr. Heater. Now this one, it's a propane heater, so you're going to have a tank of propane. It does not come with a tank of propane. All it really comes with, of course, you get the heater and a hose to attach to the heater, from the heater to your propane tank. Read the instructions about doing these up on the heater. Just a side note, this one you turn clockwise to hook that on, and you need to use 2 wrenches so you tighten it properly. Don't over tighten things, just snug them up nice. For the end that goes into the propane tank, if you're having trouble screwing that in, that's because you have to turn it counterclockwise, okay? So basically, this one, the reason they say it's indoor rated, which you have to be careful with it, I believe the only reason they're really saying that is because if the power goes out while it's running, it will shut down and the gas will shut off. Other than that, you have to be careful. You can't really use this in a confined area, or else you're going to run out of oxygen, and you know, we kind of need oxygen to live. It doesn't have a low oxygen sensor. Like there are units, expensive units, that have a whole bunch of features. Plus, if it tips over, it will just keep running, so you have to be careful, and you have to keep it, you know, at least 2 meters away from any walls or any things that could overheat. The tank needs to be about 2 meters away, so, you know, they give you enough cord or pipe or whatever you want to call it. The propane hose, there's 2 meters there, so you have to keep it away. Don't point it at the propane tank while it's running. You know, just be smart about things. Read the instructions. So, the key point with this thing, and I'll show you how to start it up. Some people have problems starting them. You know, they're just not familiar with things. So basically, what you should do after you get it hooked up, you can use soapy water on, you know, all the fittings there and up on the tank. And what you do initially, before it's plugged in or it's not running or anything, it's just hooked up. Turn on your propane tank. And what you really should do, just let it sit for a minute. Use the soapy water or use your nose. Propane has an odor that's put into it so that you can tell if there's a propane leak. You should not smell any propane. If you smell any propane, something's leaking, don't start it up. Maybe readjust, retighten the joints, put some soapy water on there. But that's the first thing you do. You want to test it, make sure it's not leaking. Once you've done that, turn the propane off. because the sequence to start this is very important. You need to plug it in first, and as soon as you plug it in, it's going to be loud, and you're going to hear a lot of ticking noises. And that's because the igniter, the electric igniter, keeps running continuously. And that's why if the power goes out, the flame goes out, the igniter stops, shuts down. So the biggest trick to this, once we get this plugged in, I want to tell you before I start it because it's noisy. The trick to get it going, you plug the unit in, it's blowing air, turn on the propane, press and hold this igniter in for about 15 seconds. It's going to start up right away, but it needs to, there's a thermocouple in there, gets everything hot, and then it knows to stay on. Because that's just how it works. It's like a safety feature, right? So once it starts up, then you just release that after about the 10-15 seconds. This dial adjusts how hot it is. It's variable. Right now I have it on the low setting. I'm going to leave it on the low setting, but it is variable from 30 up to 60. So that would be on high. That's low. Check your unit though. Could be different. So I'm going to start this up, and one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hook up some temperature sensors. My goal here is to see how long it takes to heat up this room. And I'll do this for all of them. We're at about 63, which is like, I don't know, 17, 18 Celsius. And what I'm going to do is I'm just have a probe up on my friend here, up on his ear. And I'm going to also put a probe in the front of the heater, see how hot it gets. And the goal is to go, in this case, from 63, 64 up to 71 degrees. We'll see how long it takes. Now normally I would never run this in a room like this, in a small confined room. I'm actually going to leave the door open and I have an exhaust fan on. So yeah, don't normally run a heater like this in a room this size. I mean, you could, but do not be in the room and only run it for like a minute or two. I don't know how long it's going to take, but you don't really want to be in a room, confined room, ever running this thing. So let's get this going and we'll see what happens. So if you can hear me, I'm making sure it's not pointed at anything. I'm a good 3 meters away from the other wall. The room's about 170 square feet. So what you do, plug it in. Next thing you do, turn on the gas. Press and hold the igniter. And there you go, it's running. Oh, I have to get my sensor in here. Okay, this is going to exceed. Whoop. Oh, I thought it would exceed the... Oh, that's why. Okay, so I'm going to take off that sensor. That's exceeding what my sensor's really made for. My point here is that the temperature coming out of there is very, very hot. So do not have this near anything. And you can see the room temperature is already at 70 and it's already achieved the temperature. So this is a pretty high powered unit. I'm going to turn it off here. Oh, turn off sequence. Leave it plugged in. Leave it plugged in. Turn off the gas. Still running. I'm going to let it cool for, you know, give it 10 seconds. And unplug it. And I mean, as you can see, it heated up the room very quickly. It's like 77 in here. So I'm going to have to cool the room off before I go to the next test. But that's the rundown. Again, this would be great, especially for an emergency situation, if you have a solar power system. It only takes about 80 watts of power. So if you did have to do a quick heat up on your house, if you have, say, a 1,500 square foot house, it will heat up the entire house in about, if it was really cold in the house, like, say, again, around 64, it will heat your house up to like 77 degrees in about 20 minutes. It would not run it any longer than that at a time, like per hour, because it uses a lot of oxygen, and you want to be careful, be smart. Even leave a door cracked open. But it'd be really good if you're out in the field, if you have a power inverter. It only takes 80 watts. If you were doing something outdoors, line that thing up. You know, if you're changing some tires or working on an engine, it'll keep you warm. So yeah, okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, before I go on to the next one here, now that I'm a little calmed down after that test, yeah, so the big Mr. Heater, it's really designed for outdoor use, in my opinion, and also in the shop where you do have like lots of ventilation also. If you do use it indoors, it's good for like a quick heat up for an area if it's cold. Like say in a basement and you're going to be doing some work, you could heat it up really quick, probably only take you 5 minutes. Get it heated up, take the chill out, and then go on. Don't leave that thing running all the time, because it's not going to be good for you. I'm just saying. So anyways, let's go. I have my partner here again. He's holding the thermostat, or the thermometer up there, I should say. So we can check this one out. Everything's down again to 64 degrees in here. So let's get into this one. This is a very typical ceramic heater. There's many different styles, and most of them are sort of 750 to 1500 watts. The only reason that I chose this one, I kind of like the style. And the other thing that I really liked is that it pivots, so you can adjust it. Whereas many are just stationary, you can't really do anything, so I liked that. And these ones, they don't really have any fancy safety features. It does have an overheat sensor in it, and it does have a thermostat, so that's good. And I did do a little bit of testing. The front does get hot, but if it were to fall over, as long as it wasn't on something really flammable, it would just shut itself off, just due to the fact it would overheat immediately. And either, you know, it's either going to overheat or the thermostat's just going to turn off. But anyways, I found with this one, I run the thermostat about halfway, and that usually works out well. And once the room is all heated up, just run it on low. I find that's also the best. So if you look at this closer, there's not much for settings on it, which is kind of good. That's off. That's just a straight fan, no heat setting. That's low heat, and that's high heat. So what I'm going to do, we're going to do another temperature test. There's really not, I mean, this one's kind of nice. It's simple. This is great. As I said, for a room this size, this room's about 170 square feet. It will work perfectly for that, or else even under your desk in your office or something, if your feet are cold, it'll work great for that. I tried it out. You can have your feet fairly close and nothing bad's going to happen when it's on low. It's reasonable. So I'm just going to stick a sensor over here. And I'm going to heat up the room again. It is at 64. The sensor up there. So my room sensor is up again, elevated, up here with this guy. And we're going to check the heat coming out of there. So let's turn it on low, and we'll see how long it takes. I'll speed up the video if it takes a while. I'm going to guess it's probably going to take about, you know, to heat it up, probably like a room this size. I'm gonna say like at least 10 minutes, maybe more. But we'll find out. There we go. Just point this away from the camera. You can look at this monitor here. Of course, the high number, it's already up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The room is at 64. It's not going out of control like the great big Mr. Heater when it instantly went up to like 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So it'll be fine, well within the specs for what this can handle for temperature. And okay, we'll wait and see. I'll turn the camera off, and I know when the time started, and because I'm guessing this is going to take 10-15 minutes, and you probably don't need to see all this. We'll come back once the temperature's getting close, and I'll tell you how long it is. Alright? Okay, here we are. As expected, it was about 15 minutes. So we're up to 72 degrees. Now, I mean, compared to the other one, don't be all, well, that took a long time. This is actually really good. And basically, what you do when you operate this, I mean, as I said, great for this room, great for an office, small office, great for under the desk for your feet. And once your room does heat up, because I have the thermostat set on max, then just start turning it down, because you've reached the temperature you want. Just keep going down, and then it turned off. And then maybe boost it up a tiny bit. And basically now it's just going to maintain the temperature in the room. And, you know, so it takes a little bit of power to get things heated up. Once it's heated up, it will turn off, and, you know, that will save you power. So that's great. Yeah, I don't know, overall, just for a nice little fan, I really like this, you know, plus the pivoting stuff. Works really well. I don't have an issue with it, and plus it doesn't get super hot. I can put my hand on that grill, it's not going to hurt you. It is on the low setting, maybe be a little more careful when it's on high, but it's not hot at all. There you have it. Let's go on to this next one here, the portable buddy. Okay, let's get into the portable buddy. Now this one actually is made by Mr. Heater. If you recall, that was the very first one that I gave you a little bit of showing of, the super high powered one, which has specific purposes. I mean, for heating up areas really quickly, but it's not like a continuous run thing, especially indoors. Use it out in the garage or the shop, different story. You have good ventilation. The little electric one, that's an all-around perfect machine. The little Royal Sovereign one with the little yellow case. Oh, that's perfect for keeping a little room warm at night or during the day, whatever. Now this one is different because it doesn't require any electricity, whereas both of the other ones require electricity. So this is like a really good if you don't really use a heater very often, perhaps, or, you know, if you go up in Canada, people go ice fishing. This would be perfect for in an ice fishing shack. Oh, and but generally speaking, this nice little heater also. And again, it doesn't require power, but you do need to buy these little propane tanks, which are quite expensive. And as a bonus feature at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to refill one of these. Better than anyone else can refill. Well, there's other guys that can do it, but people say you can't refill them there very well. Oh, it doesn't work out, but no, I'll show you. It'll be fine. But anyways, so let's get into this one. Basically, this one, what I really like about this heater, it has a low and high setting, and it's 4,000 to 9,000 BTU. Again, it's kind of designed for an area that I'm in. It's about 170 square feet. It's good. It says it's good for 225, but it all depends on how well things are insulated, all that good stuff. It runs about 5 hours on a little tank. On low setting, you only get about 2.5 on the high setting. And the nice thing about this one, it also has a low oxygen sensor, so it will shut off if there's not enough air in the room. It'll shut off, which is good. And it also has a tip over safety. It will shut off. I tested that. It does work. Now, but again, to get this thing going, get out of the box. I like it. It's not very heavy. Doesn't seem to be. It's not really that big. It has a nice. The handle does fold down. I suggest folding that down when it's running. It does pull up. If you do leave it there, the handle doesn't even get. It doesn't get overheated. A lot of hot air does come straight out of the top, just so you know. But yeah, to get this running, it's much like the other. Anytime you're dealing with propane or gas, you should test it with soapy water, the connections, or when you get this screwed in, do a smell test, because again, propane, they put a smell in there that you should be able to sense it with your nose. Some people, if you don't have a good nose, maybe you can't smell it, but normally you can. So just screw it in. Don't go all crazy with the tightness. It sort of snugs up there, and then just give it a little turn. Away you go. And this one, really easy to start up. So it's on the off position here. And my biggest error was when I was trying to turn this knob, I was pressing down too hard. And then it would sort of get locked up and stuck, but just gently press it a little bit. And then what you do is you turn it to pilot first. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit here. There we go. So we're on the pilot setting. Right there. And what you do, press it down and hold it down for a few seconds. It's not going to light the first time you do this, 99% of the time. So just press it down, and you want to hold it for about 5 seconds, and that will get the gas flowing through the system. And then, once that happens, release it, and then press it again. So here we go. I'm going to press it down. It did not light, as expected. But I can hear the gas running. Let it go. Now press it again, and hold it. And there, the pilot light is now on, but just like the first one, the gas heater, you have to hold it down for about 10 seconds. And it heats up a little thermocouple. It tells it that, hey, the gas is on, so I'm going to be able to put gas to the system once it goes into the on position. Otherwise, you know, it's a safety feature again. Because if that pilot isn't running, and if you turn it to the gas setting, it's not going to, the propane won't flow. It's like a safety feature. Okay, so the pilot light is on, and I'm just going to back out a bit here. Super easy to get going. And yeah, I have my friend up here again. Hold my temperature sensor up there for the room, and I'm going to put the other sensor right here. I know this is where it gets the hottest, is right around in here. So we're just going to set this here. Just, you know, as a test. And I'll put the gauge up here. I'll show you it on screen also, but hopefully you can see that also. Okay, so it's all ready to go. So the room is warmer than before. The room, well, I touched that sensor, so it's warmed up, but the room's at 68. Before it was at 64. So, oh, I'm gonna have to readjust this. Hang on. Okay, so I had to readjust the temperature settings. Of course, the heater went up to 147. The pilot light's only going right now, but you know, it's the position of the probe. But when I originally tested the other ones, they were at 60. The room was at 64, but it's warmer in here now. It's at 68. So I set the room temperature to 76, kind of because before I was only going up to about 71. So I'm going to make up the difference for the heating. So let's fire this thing up, and we'll see how long it takes to get up to 76 degrees this time. Hopefully it's comparative. I think it is. So to start it up, it's on the pilot, and we're just going to use low again. Just gently press and turn it over to low. And you might not be able to see it, but it did fire up. I can hear it. It'll take a second for it to stabilize. And we're just going to wait and see. I'm going to guess it should be pretty quick, I'm thinking. This is probably, because it's much hotter, the heat coming out of there. But again, it appears hotter also because there's not a fan blowing on it. It's a radiant heater. There's no electricity involved, so you will still have some high temperatures. And if it gets above 500, I'm going to pull that sensor out of there, because it's really only good for around 500 degrees Fahrenheit, and I don't want to damage it. But okay, so I'm timing it now. I'll be back. I'm going to shut her down, shut the camera off, and yeah, I'm going to take that sensor out of there. Okay, be back in a second or two. Okay, as expected, it did heat up the room up to that 76. It's a little bit high right now, but it heated up to the 76. A little bit above, but it heated up in about 15 minutes, as expected. Now, this is something that they won't tell you, which is an interesting thing. So this is there's no electricity, it's radiant heater. So when it is running, if you are within the vicinity of it, it's radiant. It's like being beside a campfire. The air might be really cold around you, but you're not having any hot air blowing at you, but you get that radiant heat. Same idea. So it comes out. But once the room is heated up to the required temperature, so I went from the low and I went to the pilot setting, and the pilot light is still running. And the interesting thing is that with that pilot light running, there's a lot of heat there. That's like equal to, like, I'm gonna guess like maybe like 4 or 5 candles running. Like, it's very hot. And the heat coming out there, just with the pilot on, is probably equal to that electric heater when it was running on low. So, the thing is, you're not gonna have the radiant heat anymore with the pilot going. But if you're in a smaller area, you still have a lot of heat coming off it, and you're gonna save a lot of gas. So, I don't know, if I was like, in a small area or out ice fishing, once the temperature got warm, I'd turn it to pilot and I'd leave the pilot on. That'd probably keep you warm for the rest of the day. So stick around, and I'm going to show you how to fill up one of these propane tanks, because those tanks, when you buy them at the store, are anywhere from $4 to $8 each. Like, it depends where you are, but I'm going to show you how to fill them up. And again, depending where you are, going to cost you about 50 cents to $1 to fill one of these up, which is a significant savings. So we'll do that. And all those people that think you can't fill these tanks up, you have to do all these procedures and stuff, I'm going to show you how to fill them up. It'll be all fine and super easy to do. So let's move on to the next step. And thank you very much for my friend here for holding the temperature gauges. And as he says to my subscribers, what's he say? He says, I woof you. Yes, I do. All right, let's get on. If you want to stick around, let's go fill up this tank. Okay, so we're going to fill up these 1 pound propane tanks. So, without getting all complicated, we're going to put on this is a brand new full one. Scale is 0. So just remember, 878, if you can see that. About 878. We'll set this over here. And this is the empty one. It's totally empty. I totally drained it using the valve and everything. So totally empty is about 409. So we're gonna fill that up. And yeah, we're gonna get it at least up to original full, and maybe a little bit more, which is not really desirable, but it could happen. And what you're going to need is just look it up on the internet. It's a 1 pound propane tank filler, refill adapter. So that's what you need, and all you do, we'll zoom out a bit here. We have a 20 pound. You can use, with these ones, you can use a 20 pound up to, I believe, a 40 pound tank. And these, you can get 2 kinds. This one screws on the inside, so you have to turn it counterclockwise. to get it started. And you only need to use your hand to tighten this. You just hand tighten it in there. Now you can get a different style of this. Same nozzle, they cost about the same. So that's in there, it's seated. That actually are kind of like how your barbecue fitting is. It has a plastic thing and it's like a quick connector. Well, it's quicker anyway, there's only 3 threads, but it has a plastic thing on it. Either one will work. All the tanks have the outside and inside threads, but that's what I'm using. This is the empty tank. Well, actually you can do a quick check. Make sure you're not smoking or have any flames. Just gonna check it. Yeah, okay, there's air coming out, or propane coming out. I just did a quick little tiny turn on, turn off. Put your tank on. It's 2 stages if you really want to get them full. Now, when you turn it on, make sure to hold back here, otherwise it will unthread from the tank. So hold it, turn it on. Make sure everything's still tight. And then, let me get this camera set up for down here. Go. So the tank is on there, and you got to turn everything upside down because propane in the tank is a liquid. So now it's upside down, and let's turn the valve on here. And you should be able to hear it running. If you don't, sometimes the valve inside the big tank stops. Okay, sometimes this happens. I don't know why it happens, but it's just kind of like you have to repeat the process. I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to turn the tank back up and unscrew the 1 pound filler thing. Then I'm going to turn the tank back around. I don't know why this happens, but if it was starting to fill, you would hear it. It happens, so I don't know why. Okay, so I had an issue, as you saw at the beginning. The valve was not working. That's because there's a safety valve inside of these tanks and it sometimes shuts the gas off. But I think I got it working again. And same process. I took out that the fill valve designed to fill up the 1 pound tanks, took it out, screwed it back in, turned it over again, and now I think we're ready to go. So we're going to give it a try again. You might not be able to hear it, but if it's working, you will hear it. And I do hear that, so it's filling up. And P.S. if you have not done this many times, wear gloves, because if there's a leak or you take that tank off, you get propane on your hand, liquid propane, because that's what's going in there. That liquid propane will go onto your hand, it will freeze your skin instantly, and that's bad news. That's like getting burnt, you know, not very good. Alright, just put on another tank here. So let's go through this 2-stage process. This one I want to try to achieve like an actual full tank again. The other ones have been a little bit down, 50, 100 grams. Not a big deal, and that's fine, especially if you're going from any cold temperatures. Throwing these into your hot vehicle. Yeah, you don't want them over full, never. Ones that I did overfill a little bit, I'm going to use those right away. I have a purpose for those ones, so that's all good. Just going to leave this sit for a second. Still making noise. Now it's stopped. Turn off the valve. Remove the tank. And let's let some air out, or gas, whatever. Yeah, basically the tank is like freezing now. So, hook this back up. And turn the valve back on. You can hear it filling again. Just leave that going until it stops making noise. Alright, it's still filling a bit. I can hear it. Now it kind of stopped, so now I'm going to give this thing about, last time I did about 3 shakes, so let's just do 1. Still filling, I can hear it now. 2. Just stopped. What's that, 3? 4. I could hear it filling again. Well, got a bit of a leak going on. That's why you need your gloves. So that's a good example why you need gloves. I mean, sometimes leaks happen. And nonetheless, let's weigh this thing. I think it's way over full. Well, it's 917, so that's okay. Yeah. That'll be alright. Okay, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, come back for more. Da 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 da. Take care, everyone.